In this lesson, you will learn to find an equation of a line given its slope and the y-intercept, given its slope and a point on the line, or just given 2 points. So what we have is going to be 3 different parts to this lesson, and each with increasing difficulty. So starting with the first part. If you're told to write the equation of a line, given the slope and the y-intercept, we can do that pretty quick based off the last lesson. Let's say you're given the slope is 5/3 and the y-intercept is -2. So going backwards now to write the equation, what I can do is write this very quickly in slope-intercept form. Where slope-intercept form, remember, was y equals mx plus b. So this was the equation of a line in slope-intercept form. Well, in this case, we know the slope already is 5/3. So in place of that m, I'll put a 5/3, and the y-intercept is that b value. So instead of the b, I'm going to put in this -2. So my equation would simply be y equals 5/3 x minus 2. So very quick, if you have the slope and the y-intercept, you just simply plug it in. Let's try one more. Slope is -2, and the y-intercept is 3/4. Same idea, where this -2 is the slope, that's going to go in for the m, and the y-intercept is 3/4, which goes in for the b. So instead of y equals mx, we have y equals -2x, and instead of plus b, we have plus 3/4. So y equals -2x plus 3/4 would be my equation. So that is the level 1 difficulty. Now let's jump into a level 2 difficulty. Here we're trying to find the equation of a line that contains a point, the point 4, -3, and has a slope of -2/5. Well, we know that the equation can be written in the format y equals mx plus b. And m is the slope. Well, we have the slope already. The slope is -2/5. So in place of that m, I can put in -2/5. But the question is, what is your y-intercept? This point here, 4, -3, is not your y-intercept. However, I can use that to find the y-intercept. Because this equation will contain this point, what we can do is we can use this point where the 4 is your x value, the -3 is your y value, and then I can just plug that in to the equation. So in place of an x, I can put that 4. In place of the y, I put the -3. And then we can, once we do that, we can find b, that y-intercept. So let's plug in a 4 in for x and the -3 in for y. So instead of -2/5 times x, I have -2/5 times 4. And instead of y equals, I have -3 equals. So then I can solve this for b, and I can do that by first multiplying -2/5 times 4. Don't forget how to multiply fractions. This is 4, or 4 over 1. So when I multiply fractions, I multiply the numerators together. So -2 times 4 gives me -8, and then 5 times 1 gives me a 5. And then, to get b by itself, I just need to get rid of this -8/5. So to do that, I can add a positive 8/5, because -8/5 plus 8/5 will cancel. And then I'd add 8/5 over here as well. So I have b equals -3 plus 8/5. And remember, to add fractions together, I need a common denominator. So I need a denominator of 5, so I can convert the -3 into -15 over 5. And then I can add these together. -15 plus 8 gives me -7 over 5. So now we have our intercept right here. We have our slope of -2/5 right here. Plug all of that in, and I'm going to get -2/5 x. And then your y-intercept would be -7. So it should be -7 over 5. So this here would be your equation. That's the equation of the line that contains this point, 4, -3, and has a slope of -2/5. And now for the most difficult kind of question that you could be asked, and this would be where you're just given 2 points, and you're trying to find the equation of the line that goes through those 2 points. Well, we have the points 1, -2, and 5, 1. And to write the equation, we're going to write this in the format y equals mx plus b, where we need the m value, which is the slope, and we need the y-intercept as well. Notice here we don't have either. We don't have the slope or the y-intercept. But based off a previous lesson, you can find the slope by using your slope formula. So to do that, if you let this be point 1, and this is point 2, this would be x1, y1, x2, y2. We can use the slope formula, where all you do is subtract the y values and then subtract the x values. So when we do that, we have 1 minus -2, and then for the denominator, we have 5 minus 1. So for the numerator, we have a positive 3. For the denominator, we have 4. So we found the slope to be 3/4. So I can plug that in to my equation y equals mx plus b, where m is 3/4. And then now we just need to find this b value. So what is your y-intercept? Well, we can do the same thing that we just did for the level 2 problem, where we can pick one of these points, either 1, -2, or 5, 1. It does not matter which one we pick, because we'll get the same answer either way. So if we pick the second point over here, we can plug in for x and y the 5 and the 1. So 5 is your x value, so in place of x I can plug in a 5, and then 1 is the y value, so in place of the y I put a 1. So then to solve this for b, I can multiply 3/4 times 5, or 5 over 1, same thing, and that's going to give me 3 times 5, or 15, over 4 times 1, which is 4. And then to solve for b, I just subtract this 15/4 over to the other side. So I subtract 15/4 over from both sides. It's going to cancel on the right side, and then we have 1 minus 15/4 on the left side. Well, 1 minus 15/4, we need a common denominator, so we have 4/4 minus 15/4. And then when you subtract, you get a -11 over 4. So now we have the slope, we now have the y-intercept. Put it all together, we're going to have y equals 3/4 x, and then minus 11 over 4. So this would be your equation for a line that goes through these 2 points. And so now we've worked with every level of difficulty, where you're given just the slope and the y-intercept. Level 2, where you have a point and the slope. And then here, you just have 2 points. So good job today. This concludes our lesson, and we will see you next time.